Welcome to the So You Want to Start a Business podcast. Welcome, welcome. I am your host, Ingrid Thompson. This is a podcast about and for entrepreneurs and leaders who think big, who take action to create business success, financial independence, and who make a difference in the world. My aim is to provide a helpful, lively, and thought-provoking podcast. And based on the feedback from you, it's all of this and more. I'm trying something new this month and I'm curious to see whether it works for you. Between the regular interviews, I'm sharing my thoughts on a particular aspect of business that will help take you closer to the business success and ultimately financial independence that you're looking for. If you're listening to this episode, please let me know if it's useful as an alternative to the podcast interviews. We'll be back next week with an interview, guarantee you that. And for the next few weeks, I'll be here in the in-between weeks. If you have any questions about achieving financial independence through building your viable and thriving business, please send me an email, ingrid@healthynumbers.com.au. I answer all my own emails. Okay, so what am I going to talk about today? I have a few questions. Where are you headed? What's in front of you? What helps drive every decision you make every day in your business? Why have a business? What do you want your business to give you? And for regular listeners, you know that I ask all my guests these questions. What did you want your business to give you? To help answer these questions, important questions, let me introduce you to Chris Hadfield. I want to ask you another question. Holy moly, I'm full of questions today, aren't I? Have you ever thought about going into space? I have to admit, I certainly had not. That is, until about 8:25 p.m. on Tuesday the 18th of August a few years ago. A week or two earlier, my partner had asked if I wanted to go and listen to Chris Hadfield as part of the Science Week. And I have to admit, not immediately recognizing his name, although I thought it would be interesting if I was being invited. So, when someone knows you, they know what you're going to be interested in. It didn't start until 8 p.m. And I was in a training room full of about 100 people all day, both the Tuesday and the Wednesday. What was I thinking going to an event that only started at 8 p.m? I'm usually thinking about bed at 8 p.m. or 8:30, and especially on training days. So we got there, and the very first thing that struck me as we arrived at the very crowded venue was the number of children. And I'm talking about young children in the audience. I felt enormously privileged to be in an audience with young people and their parents who believed that Chris Hadfield was worth coming out so late on a school night. Then he started to speak, and I was absolutely transfixed. At the age of 9, Chris Hadfield watched Neil Armstrong walk on the moon, and at that moment he decided that he would go into space. This man had almost no chance of going into space when he was 9 years old. He's Canadian, and at that time there was no Canadian space astronaut program. The barriers were endless. Fast forward, and Chris Hadfield has spent 166 days in space and has flown 3 different types of rocket ships. Chris Hadfield decided that every day he would do things that would lead him to going into space. He knew he couldn't change the Canadian space system. The only thing he could do was change himself. He could turn himself into the person he wanted to be. He spent 20 and a half years training to be an astronaut, including living at the bottom of the ocean, and that allowed him to spend 6 months in space. His story of having this long-term goal and how that guided his daily activity and activities, that every small decision, what am I going to do next? If you're a regular listener, we've heard guests talk about the time it takes to build a successful business. It takes time, and there is nothing you can do about it. Nothing you can do to not take time. When you're deep in the trenches each and every day, you need a vision, a bigger goal, is what one of our recent guests said. In all my years of studying goal setting and with working with clients about goals and what they want to achieve, I've never heard anyone talk about using their long-term goal to influence their everyday decision making quite in the way Chris Hadfield talks about how that long-term goal took a 9-year-old boy into space. There was another inspiring aspect to the interview, was how inspired and inspiring Chris Hadfield is. How many times has he told his story? How many times has he answered those same questions? His tone, his energy, his enthusiasm on that night was as if he was telling it for the first or perhaps the second time. And this happens in business. We talk about Groundhog Day. We're going to have the same conversations. We're needing to bring the same energy, enthusiasm every single day because all of our clients are coming to our business for the first time. Honestly, if you want to read Chris Hadfield's biography, Astronaut's Guide to a Life on Earth, I absolutely can recommend it. It is a terrific read. So a fun aspect of Chris Hadfield, he has recorded David Bowie's song Ground Control to Major Tom. It's terrific, and I've put the link in the show notes. He also tells a fabulous story of almost and potentially meeting Elton John. He thought, what if Elton asks me to get on stage and play a song with him? I need to be ready. Of course, which tune did he have in mind? Which tune did he get himself ready to play? Rocket Man, of course. It never actually happened. And that's okay with Chris Hadfield. Maybe it will one day. He just loves to be ready. So let me ask you, are you ready? Are you getting ready? What are you getting ready for? Those questions at the beginning, where are you headed? What's in front of you? What helps drive every decision you make every day in your business? What do you want your business to give you? These are super important questions to think about. I personally am super clear that I am all about helping entrepreneurs and business owners achieve financial independence. Everything I do in my business, every decision I make is based on the question, will this contribute to helping you, my listener, move closer to achieving financial independence as a business owner? As always, there's no advertising on this podcast, apart from me and my book. This episode is brought to you by my book with the same name as the podcast, So You Want to Start a Business. Head over to wherever you buy your books online for the Kindle or the physical book. If you're loving these conversations, please head over to wherever you listen to podcasts and leave us a 5-star review and make a comment. I thank you. I appreciate it. Share this podcast with your friends. Subscribe. Encourage them to subscribe as well. If you know people who are wanting to create financial independence through having their own business, through entrepreneurship, this is the podcast for you. We'll be back next week with a terrific interview with another startup story. So have a great week, and remember, thoughts without actions, they're just that. They're ideas and thoughts. So what action are you going to take today? Thanks for listening.